Not bad. Not bad. Good morning. How are you today? I want to talk a little bit about the world right now. And normally, see, the intent of this channel is that it is supposed to be about my hobbies and my passions and the things that I really enjoy. It's very heavy on the outdoor wilderness survival, because that's really how it started. But I do have plans on doing some ham radio videos and some shooting videos, and probably I have a separate channel for my martial arts stuff. But I really try to stay away from all the doom and gloom and all the fear-based doomsday backpacking, as I call it, doomsday prepping kind of stuff. But given the situation, we live in a world where we have a worldwide pandemic. The virus in 3 months has killed more people than an average flu season does in 3 years, and climbing. The rate of people dying has slowed down a little bit. We were up to about 5,000 people dying a day. It's down to about maybe 1,500, but still 1,500 people dying every day is fucking unbelievable. And the fact that so many people are not taking this seriously is appalling to me, and it's really just going to exasperate the situation. But then we have these protests, and there's more than protests. There's rioting going on, and I actually believe that this is not rioting. I believe that this is attacks. It's on a scale that is so far beyond rioting that we're looking at. I think it's civil war. At least a mild form of civil war. So just recap what's happened. We had a cop. He kills a guy. He blatantly murdered him in front of a crowd in broad daylight on film. Okay. So some sort of reaction, I think, is justified. Burning down the police station, okay, especially if that neighborhood's had a lot of problems with that particular police department. I can see that. But there's a lot more than that going on. They're attacking unrelated businesses, burning down AutoZones, Walgreens, banks. And they're not concentrated in just areas where the local population has a lot of issues with law enforcement. It's not high crime areas where you have a lot of criminals that want to rebel against the man and all that crap, right? This is spreading everywhere, and it's tied into those resist groups. The couple of years, about 3 years ago, these groups called Resist popped up all over the place on Meetup.com, and the things that they were wanting to do were they were off the scale, and they were basically wanting to take the concept of the Occupy Wall Street protests, make them extremely more violent and destructive, and then spread them out to all the suburbs. So I started warning my closest friends that, hey, we got to pay attention to this. We need to watch this, and we need to prepare for this, because this is going to happen. And here we are. It is now happening. And these groups don't believe the bullshit. They are all one group. Okay, Antifa is a group. Resist is a group. Black Lives Matter is a group, right? But these aren't groups. These are chapters of a larger organization. And everyone's seen stuff about how you've got people are paid organizers for these protests, right? Well, if this is a truly grassroots protest built on the rage of the local populace, which is how I think this one started. Okay, I think it started out legit, but it was co-opted. It's like anything that happened after day 3, that's something completely different. This group, I'm going to call it the nameless group that's in charge of all of this, that's organizing all of this thing, appears all over the place under all kinds of different names. So anytime you have an activist group that has any kind of direct action in its SOP. Doesn't matter what their name is; they're all that same group. You know, they just appear in different places under different names it's for like subterfuge. So once we've identified this, now we can, well, what do we do about it? Well, there's nothing we can do about it. You know, I've been members of local resist groups. I've been in all their online forums and everything, at least until they figure out who I am and what I'm really about. Then they kick me out because I'm, you know, spying on them, right? But the thing is this is too big. There's too much brainwashing going on. It's easy to lead the weak-minded, and that's what they're doing. And they have an uncountable number of people that range everywhere from people that just want to go to a protest and march around with a sign to people that want to fucking burn down buildings, and they're looking for an avenue to burn down buildings. And we can't stop this. You and I as individuals cannot stop this. The police can't stop it. You know, what happens, I mean, they're banning the posts all over the country right now because they are overwhelmed. You know, and their only option would be to start shooting people, and that can't be done, right? They can't do that, and these people know that they can't do that. So what you and I have to do is we need to really prepare. And I hate to bring the whole Doomsday backpacking zombie apocalypse preparedness stuff there, because that makes me crazy when that kind of thing gets mixed into a like wilderness survival outdoor adventure kind of a page, because it's been creeping into those pages for years now, and it's just, you know. But the truth of the matter is that we are in tough times. We are in hard times. We are on the verge of a civil war, if we're not already in it. And we need to stock food. A year's worth of canned goods, rice, beans, pastas. With the virus taking people out at the meat packing plants, there's going to be meat shortages. That's going to continue to grow because everyone wants to just open up and get back to normal. But you know what? The virus doesn't give a fuck about that. It wants us to be back to normal so it's easier to spread. So, you know, when we get this second wave that everyone talks about, it's going to be exponentially worse than the first one, because the virus has seeded itself into society now. It's seeded itself into the population. It's rooted. And instead of one or two cases popping up and spreading and slowly growing, there's thousands of cases everywhere, and it's all going to explode exponentially. So you need food for at least a year, right? Minimum of a year. If you can do 18 months to 3 years, that's even better. Canned meat is ungodly expensive, so you need to get canning equipment, you need to get jars, and you need to start canning ground beef. It's very, very important. Spices, you need to have spices. Water. Water is going to be a big deal, because it's only a matter of time before these groups attack the municipal water system, electrical system. You know, any kind of utilities is going to be a threat from these crowds burning them out, and there could be localized or major power outages. So you need to have some sort of solar power, at least to recharge your phone and keep your TV on, so you have connection to the outside world. I'm in the process of building a small solar generator for my radio station. It's not for the rest of the house. I give a fuck about the rest of the house. You know, I have a freezer full of food. I care about that, but it's all meat, so I could like throw it in a giant endless stew pot and keep it for months just by boiling it 2 times a day. You know, so we need to worry about these things. We need to have a 55-gallon drum of water, fresh water, for each member of the family, and we need a way to refill that water without relying on the tap. For example, I have a system that we don't have any gutters here, but I have a system that ties into my rain gutters. It's not installed yet. It's something that I was working on because I have an interest in off-grid homesteading, right? That coincides with me looking at that property up in the mountain over there. But I already have that because of my hobbies. I have a lot of convenient hobbies for these kind of times. So for me, it's not really a fear-mongering thing. It's just like I really like the idea of being able to live off-grid, and I want to buy property that is off-grid, partly because it's cheap, and I can build on it easy without any kind of rules and regulations. So I need to think about these things for that reason, and I have been. But for the rest of us right now, my hobbies are going to become life support. They're going to become survival. So you need to get some way to refill your 55-gallon water barrel and get them now where they're cheap before everyone starts figuring this shit out that they need it. I picked up barrels for $17 a piece. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using my roof as a water catch, and I'm going to drain water off of my gutters to fill my rain barrels. Then I got a whole filtration system and all that goes with it too. But that's the easy part. So you got food, you got water. You need ways of making cooking fires. So you need multiple methods of starting fire. And the outdoor backpacking bushcraft survival group, bar none, is the cream of the crop when it comes to knowing how to make fires. But for the rest of us, you need stockpile charcoal. Every time you go to the grocery store, buy the largest bag of charcoal you can. I mean, I'm talking stack it 6 feet tall, 4 rows deep, because when these assholes that are burning buildings down now start taking out utilities, we're going to need that charcoal to cook our food. Buy a charcoal grill, not a propane grill, or a charcoal grill. The reason you buy a charcoal grill is you can cook food on anything that doesn't have chemicals in it. You can cut down trees, right? You can let the wood dry out in the sun, chop it all up, let it dry out in the sun, and then a week later you can cook with that. So there's an endless supply of things that we can burn that are safe to cook on. And things that are not safe to cook on, you could still put a pot and cook on the frying pan or cook on the pot with, dangerous chemicals in your wood, because the chemicals will not get into the food if you do it that way. I still wouldn't do that because there's going to be better options. That's like last minute desperation kind of stuff. But you need to think about these things. You need to have a pack. Okay, I'm not going to, everyone is all excited about their bug out bags or their inch bags or their get home bags. It's all a bunch of bullshit names for your pack, right? And I'm not going to use that kind of terminology because it's still, to me, it's still just my fucking pack, because I don't trying to keep the fear terminology out of my life. But a backpack that's set up for long distance hiking is going to have all the minimum survival gear you need. And what do we need to cover? Okay, and this is what I really want to talk about in this video. What do we really need to cover? It's only a handful of categories that need to be covered by your gear. First of all, you need shelter. And that starts with rain gear. Okay, if you have a good set of a 2-piece rain gear, not a poncho, because ponchos, let me put my tee down here. Ponchos cover to here, right? And they come down on your thigh. So when it starts raining, all the water soaks your arms, soaks the bottom of your legs. It keeps your core dry, sure. And they can be used for tarp shelters and all kinds of cool stuff that infantry guys like to do. But it's not a good shelter for someone that's trying to survive because of the water issues. You get into situations where it starts being 55, 40 degrees out there, and the fact that your arms and bottoms of your legs are soaked will chill your core due to the radiator effect. Your blood picks up that cold temperature and brings it to your heart. I actually know a guy who went into hypothermic shock walking barefoot in the snow, despite the fact that all the rest of him was covered in this big giant ski suit. I mean, he was overdressed, really, because he was bundled up for being a day of skiing, and basically the veins in his feet chilled because he was walking in the snow, and then that cold went to his heart, and he collapsed. He was speaking in hieroglyphics. I couldn't even understand. I knew I had to get him out, so I had to practically carry this guy out of the woods, get him in his car, and get the heat turned on. And it was a situation where we had there was like 4 feet of snow on the ground a week before that, and it had been raining constantly, and now there was only 2 feet of snow on the ground, or maybe even 1 foot. So everything was mud soup. There was just no easy way to get a fire in the situation. So we had to do what we had to do. I had to get him out, and I rescued him. But that's my reason for not wanting to have a poncho and insisting on a 2-piece rain suit. First piece of survival gear is the most important piece of shelter gear you can own. More important than a tent. More important than anything. You have to. That's the first thing. Then you want a couple tarps. You want to get a minimum 8x8 tarp for overhead coverage, and then you want to get a 5x7 tarp to lay on the ground. You can get a tent. I'm famous for liking my Lawson Blue Ridge baby hammock, and then later, after 25 years of it of heavy use, I now have the new model, the Lawson camping hammock. So I'm famous for my hammock shelters, but any kind of a pup tent or basic family camping tent, preferably something that's backpackable, like a backpacking Appalachian Trail type lightweight tent. You need some kind of a shelter to carry with you. Couple 55-gallon drum liners, big leaf bags. You want a couple of those. One of those thermal blankets, those emergencies, Mylar thermal blankets. You have to think about insulation too. Your shelter keeps the outer elements off of you, but what about trapping your heat? All right, thermal regulation. Your insulation is what does that. The most important thing, obviously, is your clothes. I'm very big on my hoodies. I think a nice, heavy, fur-lined hoodie is one of the most important pieces of survival gear you can own next to your rain gear. Get one that zips all the way down to the front. That way you can thermal regulate when you're active. I use those when I'm out on the trail, or when I'm out and about, and then I use these when I'm home, right? You're going to want to get wool cap, wool gloves, wool socks, and you're going to want to have at least one full change of clothes and make it rugged outdoor survival gear type clothing. Those of you that like that hunt, you have all kinds of options there. There's your I prefer my standard military BDUs because the pockets are a really good size for the gear that I carry, and I have specific gear that I carry in specific places on my body when I'm in the field. But you don't have to necessarily go that route. Long pants that are loose enough to move in and are durable, that's what you need. Underwear, you need 3 changes of underwear, 3 changes of socks. I like to carry a super thick pair of socks to sleep in, and then I have a medium and 2 light socks. I actually carry 4 pairs of socks in my pack. The 2 light pairs can be stacked on top of each other while you wash the medium pair. See, that's how I work that. And of course, the medium pair can be worn where you wash all the others, and yeah, you see where I'm going with that. But that minimum of 1 change of clothes is going to be important too, because when a disaster happens, usually the weather's not good. There's a storm, right? There's a flood. There's something, and your clothes get soaked, so you need to have a change of clothes. And this is the kind of stuff most survival experts don't even talk about because they're too busy talking about their gadgets and their bullshit that they put in their packs, right? Most survival bullshit is bullshit. Just forget about all that. You got to think practically. So you want to keep your change of clothes in a dry bag. Okay. Why do you want to keep a dry bag? Because you want to keep the clothes dry. But there's a second reason. And the second reason is that you can wash your clothes in your dry bag. I always recommend having a very large dry bag for your clothes, way larger than you need, like a 35-liter one, huge, right? And that gives you the ability to put water in it, put soap and laundry detergent in there, wash your clothes in the field, and then you can hang dry them anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are. If you know how, you can actually make laundry soap out of the ash from your campfire. Okay, and this is obviously not a doomsday backpacking kind of a trick. This is just something that I do in the field so that I can have clean clothes if I'm out backpacking for a couple of weeks. Because who wants to be smelly when you're in the woods, right? Like, why should I have to be this smelly, disgusting backpacker when I can make soap out of my campfire ash and I can take a bath? I can wash my clothes. Like, I don't have to give up modern conveniences just because I'm living in the woods for a couple weeks. But you can apply that to emergency preparedness and zombie survival. Because the zombie apocalypse is here and there's zombies everywhere. If you don't believe me, watch the news. You need tools. You need your survival tools. And of course, from an outdoor wilderness survival aficionado, as I am, the first tool that comes to mind is your big fixed blade survival knife. Very important. And I've run the gambit of what different kind of knives I like over my course of pursuing this hobby. I used to like big knives, and then I liked smaller knives because I was like, oh, well, I never use the big knife anyway, and it's stupid, right? But then I kind of gravitated back towards large knives again, because when you look at people who live in parts of the world where their survival depends on their knife, they always have these big machetes or these half machetes, like 12-inch half machetes or whatever. I'm an advocate for carrying cutlery systems rather than a single knife. I don't really like the one-tool option, but for a one-tool option, I would either carry the large half machete, 12-inch blade, or I would carry like a 7-8-inch fixed blade survival knife. Now, I do have a 5-inch U.S. Air Force survival knife that I probably use more than any other knife around because I have always lived in an urban area and big knives are illegal, and the small knife is easy to hide under an oversized shirt when I go hiking or backpacking, and I'm going to, at least part of my route, I'm going to be crossing areas where all the family day hikers are, right? Because I don't want to walk up on the local miniature waterfall where the mom with her 6 kids everyone's all running around and it's family day, and here I am, freaky looking Rambo with a big giant knife this big, so I have the smaller fixed blade that I carry for those kind of stuff. And so I'll hike out there, I'll practice some bushcrafting skills, and I'll hike back. So I do a lot of day hikes like that. At least I did before I moved to Chattanooga. So knives is a thing that we're heading into some really hard times and some really scary times, and I would recommend that everyone have at least a 5-inch or bigger fixed blade survival knife, a pocket knife as well, folding pocket knife. So you got a larger one and then you got a smaller one. Leatherman would be the best pocket knife possible because you got that smaller blade, but you have all those other tools too. So that gives you 2 knives. There's squirrels chasing each other in my tree up there, and one of them doesn't seem happy about it. But that gives you 2 knives, lots of versatility. You don't need the big giant knife, but that is the go-to for people that live out in the wilderness worldwide. Believe it or not, you're going to want some kind of string, cordage. I carry number 36 Mason's line. Why do I carry number 36 Mason line? Because it does everything that I'll need it to do, and you could go to any hardware store and buy it. That's why. It's cheap. It's like $3 a roll, and you get a big fat roll, and it's... But you can carry bank line too. A lot of outdoor guys carry bank line because it's basically Mason's line, but it's tarred, so it's grippier, and it functions better. Those of you that have been in the infantry or the military, Marines, Special Forces, even the guy that's the cook, you will probably want to carry 550 paracord because that's what you're used to. It doesn't really matter what, so long as it's strong and long. 300 feet, get a whole roll. Don't get hanks, get a whole roll. Because when times are tough, you're going to be needing to tie things together. It's weird. I, you're just going to have to trust me. You're going to be tying your tarp up. You're going to be tying, that's the glue that holds the survival world together is different types of cordage. Water. Water is something that you need to think about. That's top on the list. I probably should have mentioned it already. In hot weather, you're going to go through a gallon of water a day, especially if you're very active. And you should be doing that now, even without there being hard times. It's just not healthy to be partially dehydrated all the time. I really believe that that's the cause of a lot of problems, health-wise. You need a way to carry and purify your water that's as versatile as possible, that will work under the widest range, because we don't know what the world is going to bring us. These assholes are going to go out there and attack a municipal water station, and all of a sudden we have no running water. You may need to take water from your local runoff creek, like the creek that's only there when it rains. You may have to divert water off of your gutter and fill a bucket up, and you're going to need to be able to purify that. So you're going to need a filter. And I would recommend a high-quality backpacking filter like a Sawyer Mini or a Sawyer Squeeze. Those are extremely versatile, and that's why I recommend them, because you can use them with 2-liter pop bottles. They screw right on the top. You fill the pop bottle with dirty water, you screw the filter on top, you put the straw in it, and you drink right out of it. You're good to go. I recommend having a stainless steel canteen, minimum of 2 quarts, because that's the biggest one they make. I would recommend a bigger one if they made a bigger one. Single wall bottle, because you could put it in a fire wherever you're at, boil that water, and purify it to drink. Okay, so no matter where you are, you have on your back, in your pack, everything you need to make clean drinking water anywhere. Okay, between those two things. You need a bandana too. And I remember last, what do you need a bandana for? All right, well, you infantry guys out there know what I mean by the bandana. But the rest of you, I'm going to tell you. You take the bandana and you use it as bandanas have all kinds of uses, but you use it as a pre-filter. You put it on the outside of your canteen, and then you pour the water into the canteen, and it traps any kind of particles, leaves, or little bugs, or whatever's floating around in there. So the water inside is not full of all kinds of little particulates. And then from there, you could use your Sawyer filter to purify the water so it's safe to drink. Or you can take your canteen, put it on a stovetop. You can get a backpacking stove. I don't carry a backpacking stove because I'm like ridiculously good at making fire. I can make fire anywhere, under any conditions, at any time, with almost nothing. Like I could look at something and it starts burning. It's cool. I have superpowers when it comes to fire making. So, but you may want to carry a backpacking stove. Get one of those little ones, this maybe burns the little cubes, or a little alcohol stove or something, and it's something that you can just set up anywhere you're at, put your bottle on it, and boil your water, and then drink it so you have safe drinking water. You will die long before starving to death if you don't have water. Food. You need some kind of food to carry. It's got to be something that you can cook. I'm sorry, I take that back. It's got to be something that you don't have to cook. It's in the package. You open the package and you can eat it. Meals ready to eat, protein bars, lifeboat rations for sailboats. That's that kind of stuff. You need food that you can carry and you can eat. Trail mix. Trail mix is really good. You could buy trail mix at any gas station. Beef jerky, you could buy it at any gas station, and it's there, and you just open it up and you can eat it. And it lasts for years. You can buy trail mix right now, and it'll be good 5 years from now, so long as you don't open the package. Modern beef jerky, probably the same thing, because it's all preserved with chemicals and stuff. So it's salty, and that might be an issue for some people, but it's not. It's better than not surviving, So you need to have some way to have food. And for those of us that are in the bushcrafting world, we all know this already. We like to, for us the challenge is learning how to get the food from the land so we don't have to carry it, learning our edible plants and learning how to hunt and trap and all that kind of fun stuff. Which reminds me, I'm hoping to do some turkey hunting this fall, but that's another story. The last thing I want to talk to you about is hygiene. Okay, and I touched on this a moment ago with my washing clothes. The same campfire ash cleanser that you make to wash your clothes can also wash yourself, and it cleans you squeaky clean. Like, it'll strip all the oils out of your hair. Powerful stuff. So it's important to be able to either make or carry some kind of soap to clean yourself with. Especially the undercarriage, because the undercarriage can become very sensitive and raw if you go long enough without washing it. So you need to carry some kind of bar soap, some kind of baby wipes, some sort of something to wash and dry. I have these microfiber towels that you could get at any auto parts store. It is. It's like this big by this big, and it crumples down in this tiny little space. It's super lightweight, and I could dry my whole body with that. So you need a way to wash yourself, you need a way to scrub yourself, and you need a way to dry yourself. So you have to think about that. You could take a bar of soap, right, and you could cut it into sections. So you got one section for your kid, one section for you, one section for your husband. Throw them in a Ziploc sandwich bag, and throw that in your pack. It's light, and you can clean yourself with it. Very important. Toothpaste, toothbrush. Get a whole tube of toothpaste, full-size toothbrush. Keep them in your pack. Okay. When you use your toothbrush up at home, take the one out of your pack, put it in your bathroom, and put a new one in the pack immediately. That way you're changing them out. So we've got that covered. There's some other stuff we can think about, like cook pots and stuff like that. But in a backpacking world, we have these little backpacking cook pots. They're small, they're super lightweight, but other than being really lightweight, so it's easier on your back when you're carrying it, it's not any different than the one off your stove. Take a 2-quart cook pot off your stove, put it in your pack. That way you have a way to boil water, you have a way to cook food, you have a way to heat it up to a high temperature and clean your socks or whatever. I mean, a stainless steel cook pot is one of the most important things. In fact, one of the things that I have learned over the years of survival as a hobby, I've never really done it because I fear the zombies or anything. I mean, there's a lot of that in the world now, but I went through a minimalist phase where I wanted to see how little amount of gear I can have and survive for 3 days with no gear or minimal gear. And I came to the conclusion that there's 3 things that you have to have. Make, carry with you, whatever. Be good at making it. Whatever it is, you need it. And those 3 things are a container that can boil water, 2-quart minimum. Okay? A way to make fire, which is more applicable to bushcraft and survival, but it's still important. You need a way to make a fire, and a reliable, consistent way. The easiest thing to do is just buy a pack of Bic lighters and put them in your pack, right? And you need tools. We're humans. We have opposable thumbs. We have highly complex brains that are geared towards tool making and tool usage. It's completely within our nature to be making tools. Even primitive man that lived in the dirt with nothing but animal skins for a shelter used and made tools. So it's important to have your tools. What tools do we have? Like I said, your knife is probably the most important one. A Leatherman with pliers and screwdrivers and little scissors and stuff like that is a very good thing to have. So bare minimum, you're going to need those 3 things. You can make fine shelter, you can make fine insulation, but you want to make sure you have those 3 key things, along with the other things that I've talked about in this video. So I'm going to get out of here now. I need to make a run to the store, and I want to get there before the people do. I'm hunting for ground beef to can, and I have a few other little things I got to run around. But I wanted to have a chat and talk about actual surviving the times and what we can do from this point forward. None of us has time to grow a garden and raise animals and live completely off grid right now. So we have to think about what can we do with money that will allow us to get through the next 6 months to a year. And so anyway, with that, I want to go get a workout in and start my day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.